Alright, we're recording. Good. Come on, turn on. Alright, yeah, I'm back again. Well, since I have some extra time on hand, like I said, season 2 was supposed to come out around December. But, so yeah, let's just get on the video. Alright, so where we last left off with the season finale was Lincoln crashing down from Vilgax's ship while holding Lucy and passing out. Now then, we turn the page to where we see someone starting to open their eyes. It's Lincoln, and when he does open his eyes, he notices that on his right eye, everything's black. Well, like, he can see out of it, but it's dark. And with that, he lifts himself up just a little bit, while hurt. Yes, and he's able to look at his mirror to see his blue eye looking at him through his mirror, along with the fact that he's severely bandaged up. And even though Lincoln thinks this might not be a good idea, he still decides to take off his bandages. Being able to burn, since it still hurts most of the time when he moves, he just burns like some of the more wrapped around parts of the bandages. Which, after that, the bandages around his eye falls off and he sees a scar going from a little bit above his eyebrow all the way down to where on his right eye, all the way down to his cheek. Stopping, like I say, right just a little bit above a little bit above the cheekbone. With Lincoln looking at it, and, well, one thing he's wondering is, he also finally remembers what happened. And another thing, he's wondering just how is he not blind, until he thinks back about his healing ability, his regeneration factor, which leads to Lincoln coming up with a theory about his regeneration factor being subconscious and choosing what to heal. Since, with wounds like this, he should have been fine hours ago, but just maybe all of his regeneration factor focused on his eye, making him be able to see again, but left his wounds unchecked. And before he has more time to think of this, his door opens and he sees Lenny comes in. With her gasping, seeing that he's awake, rushing over to her little brother and wrapping him in a somewhat soft, tight hug. Basically, her asking him if he's okay and everything. And with this being said, she also tells him that everyone's downstairs and that their mom was just waiting for him to wake up. And so with this, Lenny helps her brother down the stairs where he sees his family, I was about to say McCabe's, but then I realized that Chandler's an orphan now. So, so he sees his family, the McHuff, Liam Hudnick, damn it, I forgot Liam's family, and the McBrides. With them all looking at Lincoln as, well, they've basically been talking. Now then, when Lincoln gets downstairs, everyone asks him if he's alright, and then Rita tells Lincoln to explain, telling them all to explain, with Albert going first. With him explaining about who the plumbers are and everything, along with him telling him about his last encounter with Vilgax, and how he thought he got rid of him, but turns out he was wrong. Now then, with that, Lincoln says it's his time to explain. From him explaining how he got the Omnitrix to Clive Powers showing up, which the McBrides chime in on the fact they knew, they just didn't think he would run around in a superhero costume. Then it also goes into Chandler and Liam explaining their sides of how they got their powers, from Chandler witnessing his father's death to Liam's powers activating while getting mugged. So, yeah, with this, Rita tells Lincoln that those things are coming off his and Chandler's risk, as she says that she doesn't know what Chandler's father was thinking about making something like this for his child, but she won't let that happen. Eventually, this moves over to the garage while the other families stay inside, pondering what to do. And about an hour later, Rita comes out with broken tools, telling everybody that the watch isn't coming off, and that telling Lana that she'll buy her more tools for breaking all of hers trying to break the watches. Now, while this is happening, with Rita telling them that they're basically all the parents telling them they're all done with the superhero shtick, stuff like that. And before the others can, reply about it, they hear the news go off saying that a group of people in knight armor are robbing a museum. Now then, Chandler damn near sees red when he looks at the screen and see the Forever Knights. With this, he gets up, ignoring the fact that he's hurt. Also, yes, Chandler has a scar over his face too. And I forgot to mention that yes, he does have that still. With this, Chandler gets up immediately, ignoring all of the pain he is, and basically rushing out the door, transforming on his way out, and flying off, with the others telling Chandler to wait up, except Liam and Clyde are both still a bit too hurt from Vilgax's fight, and Lincoln is about to chase after him until Rita tries to grab him and tell him to make still, but Lincoln makes it obvious that he's stronger than his mother by every way by outright ripping his hand from her with little ease. With Lincoln then proceeding to ask Rita, how is she physically going to stop him? He could probably lift half of this house with his bare hands at this point. So how is she going to stop him? Along with the fact that Lincoln tells Rita that the one thing Nate told him as a kid to make sure that if he could help people, he should. And he's doing it. He's not about to go back on something that he's heard all of his life, especially now that he has a reason to help. And especially with the murderers of one of his friend's father out there right now and him going off alone. He's not about to do that. And so with this, Lincoln rushes out the door, transforming into, accelerate, catching up with Chandler as Stinkbug, who, with him flying down to Lincoln's level, asking him what's up, with Lincoln explaining what he told to his mom and telling him, let's just get over with this Forever Knights. Now then, the two make it to the museum, with Lincoln basically rushing in and basically stopping his momentum enough, but still going to where he doesn't hurt one of them seriously by spinning around and smacking two of them into a wall with his tail, with Chandler coming down, shooting gunk at them, basically sticking some of the knights in place, and eventually they pack them. They basically is able to round them all up. Now then, with this, the two do ask about what they, the McLean, I never came up with a name for his dad, Devin McLean, basically asking him why would they kill him, with one of the knights telling him that they're new and they don't know anything about. More so, they tell them that what's the word? They're new recruits, so they don't know anything about what the higher ups. They would have to ask one of them about it. With this, the police gets here, and the knights are taken in, but they don't answer any questions. And with this, Lincoln and Chandler run back off. With Lincoln thinking that he's gonna get yelled at. Basically, the two then stop up on the roof as their watches time out, along with them then climbing down it, and while basically walking on their way, they run into They run into a new establishment that's just got done made in Royal Wood. Yeah, they run into an establishment that just had one put in Royal Woods, Mr. Sleuth's. The two decide to cut their losses and just wait for their watches to recharge. And with this, the two buy some, well, I guess more so Chandler because he's rich, but they buy some smoothies. And with the two walking out and getting ready to walk back, this is when Vanzilla pulls up. With Rita stepping out the car and while telling and hugging Lincoln, and even bringing Chandler in the hug. With her telling him that her and the other parents have thought about it, and they're willing to let them continue doing this as long as they stay completely and totally safe and tell them everything. And with Rita telling Chandler that because of what happened to his dad, he is always going to be welcome at the Loud House. And so with this, Rita ends up driving them back home. Rita drives them back home with Chandler staying over the night. And with that, things are relatively. Let's just ignore that, okay? And with that, things are relatively peaceful for the next couple of days as all of the boys heal up. Until Albert comes in one day while all the boys are just hanging around with Albert saying that he got a notification about some wild Vulpamenters running around. With this, the boys, as we get a little flashback of Lincoln going up to Lisa and telling her that if she could make suits for them, since, if Lincoln and Chandler ever transform back, they don't need anyone knowing who they are. And, same for Liam and Clyde, even though they can't really transform all that much, but still, they need a mask to hide their face. As with this, Lisa ends up creating 4 bracelets. And as we get back to present time, we see the boys press the bracelets where nanotech highly durable nanomesh carbon fiber. What's one the hardest stuff you could It's nanotech meshed with extremely rough and durable fabric. Basically, and when they press the button, it starts to expand wrapping around their hands before going over their clothes. If you want a transformation for their suits or anything, I would say look at something like Spider-Man Unlimited for their suits. Now then, go in what they look like. Give me a minute. I have a note here somewhere that tells you what I had their suits look like. Hold on. Yep, found it. Let me open it and read. Okay, for Lincoln's suit, it's now. Alright. For Lincoln's suit, what I wrote down here is that now the base is, the main color of the fabric is mainly orange. With it's still having the Omnitrix symbol in the middle of the shirt. While the arms are. While Lincoln's. Wait a minute. The main part of the suit's still, black. Well, technically orange. Say the mask, lower levels are orange. While the pants are now black with orange stripes on them. With somewhat high, dense boots. While Lincoln has basically, 2 metal blockers on his arm. Now then, for Clyde, suit's still black. The upper part is still blue and black, except now he has extendable blades, along with the fact that pants are white with blue stripes on them. Now then, for Liam, he gets a complete suit update. You know Hotshot from Teen Titans 03? It's basically something like that. Again, just look up Hotshot for this one. Now then, for Chandler, his suit's kind of the most bulkiest since, he's still a human and needs extra protection. Now then, he does have a normal mask on, but that comes with a Red Hood style helmet with a jacket too, kind of like Lincoln's suit. Along with the fact he has a gun. Yes, he's a... Basically, it's more so a non-lethal gun, that can shoot out tasers, stuff like that, since he can't physically throw stuff as hard. Along with the fact that they also have some weapons, i.e. throwing stars, stuff like that. And on the plus side, all of their suits are now integrated with a basically criminal database, and say whatever wacky shit you would see in a Batman suit. So criminal database, stuff like that, since again, Lisa was able to figure out time travel. I think she would be smart enough to just do this alone. especially now with the fact that she has some old plumber tech from Albert that he gave her to help. So yeah, that's all four boys in the suits. Now then, eventually when they get there, they see two Velociraptors with Lincoln and Chandler deciding to transform into two, as the conversation with them. With the two boys turning back and mouthing enough to where, as Clyde tried to understand them, and what Clyde is basically able to read from like Lincoln is that saying they want to eat us. With this, Clyde proceeds to blast one of the Vault Ventromessers back, along with putting his hand on the ground and basically absorbing the concrete. Now then, the way Clyde suits deal with this is that since it's nanotech, it kind of becomes the concrete too, since it's like Lisa also like took a bit of their hair to like have it deal with their powers. I.e., Lincoln's suit won't burn if he lights his hand on fire. Clyde, when he absorbs stuff, his suit approximates it. So, say if he absorbs concrete like he is now, his suit will just turn into concrete too, thanks to the nanotech now. Now then, let's get on to business. Liam engulfs in the fire, basically blasting the other one while Lincoln and Chandler basically they handle all the ones until someone comes up. A man with black hair. What the fuck does Phil look like again? It's Phil. I don't. If you don't know who that is, watch the Collective series, but it's not like I'm not about to explain who he is anyway. Basically, Phil comes up after the two transform back, with Lincoln asking his grandfather who this is, with, well, the two hugging it out, with the four boys pressing a button on their suits to retract them back into bracelet form. With Albert explaining that Phil was one of his old partners that even helped take down Vilgax. With basically him asking Phil to come to dinner and everything too. And with this, he does, and Phil starts telling him about all of the like crazy adventures they had. Unfortunately, though, one of Lincoln's sisters let it slip that Lincoln and Chandler have Lincoln has an Omnitrix and Chandler has a copy that his dad made. With Phil being intrigued by this, but he didn't remember something Dad made. And with Chandler telling him what happened to his dad, Phil looks angry a bit. With him saying that before he was partnered with Albert, he was partnered with Chandler's dad before he became a scientist. A great man he was, and he's sorry for Chandler's loss. As he puts a hand on the boy's shoulder and giving him a pat on the back. Now then, things go the same way for a couple of weeks. For like a few days at most. Of aliens being broken out and Phil capturing them. Although this starts leading the boys to get suspicious. With this, they tell Albert about it, who's also beginning to get suspicious. Now then, eventually, things come to a head when they see Phil with some type of gun while stalking him straight up. Say Lincoln, Chandler, Clyde, and Liam are all like on a beam as they see Phil bring out some type of gun and open a portal. Now then, while this is happening, their suits also are recording from their eyes. Recording what's happening and sending it back to Lisa, who has a screen, who's had this hooked up to the TV, so everyone can see right now what's happening. Now then, with this, Albert is outside as they activate their comms, telling him what's happening and jumping down to stop him. With him saying that this is a null void gun and that he uses it to let the aliens out, send them back, make money and profit. Now then, this leads to a small fight. Small here being that in the original, Ben kind of had a trouble with him, but there are two Omnitrix users here, Osmosian and a Pyronite. Look, even if he's trained, getting jumped by 4 different people that all have 4 different powers, he's going down. Now then, unfortunately, this leads to an accident happening where Phil ends up getting... basically Phil lets something out of the null void that starts dragging Lincoln in. And Phil makes the decision, as well as corrupt and kind of a shady person he is. He's not about to let a kid, even if he does have the most powerful weapon in the universe, he's not about to let a kid get dragged to the null void. There's no place a child should ever be. And so while making the decision, he pushes Lincoln out the way, getting grabbed himself, and basically getting dragged in, with Liam finally picking up the null void projector got knocked to the floor and a portal opened. So Liam ends up picking up and finally turning it off. As, well, Phil gets pulled in, but something that does drop is a white badge with a red middle spot. His plumber badge. With this, Lincoln picks it up, with him asking Albert exactly what the null void is. With him telling him it's a place where the most dangerous criminals in the universe go. And then Lincoln asks Albert, was Phil really that bad? I mean, Lincoln saying he means he saved them even after that. Sure, they were fighting, but did he really deserve to go to a place like that? With Albert not being able to say, as they take a null void projector back to a safe place, well, more so Albert takes it and puts it in the RV. But Lincoln looking at it, then looking at Phil's plumber badge after returning his suit. Basically, this leads to Lincoln going home, and basically at night, Lincoln's looking at Phil's plumber badge. Sure, he was an ass, but the way his grandpa said it was about, considering the fact that Phil was a plumber who just kind of missed the old days. Did he really deserve to go there? So while Lincoln looks at Phil's plumber badge, he does decide something in that he's going to get him out and actually give him basically Lincoln's going to get him out. And with that, we end up Season 2, Episode 1 of Loughton, March 13. Well, I guess not. Alright, also, if you guys actually didn't like watching this and watched the whole way through, why don't you like and subscribe, or even comment what you felt about it. All feedback is good feedback. Okay, that's not true. All the actual reasonable feedback is good feedback. But even if it's telling you what you could improve. But with that, March 13.